Sup YouTube, it's Azure Eruption here, coming at you with a deck profile for my High Priestess of Prophecy build. I'm under a time limit, so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but I will try to explain my choices as I go through. So to kick things off, we've got 3 High Priestess of Prophecy. She's the boss monster of the deck. We've got 2 Breaker the Magical Warrior. Breaker works really well with Spellbook of Power and Spellbook of Wisdom, and it's just really good back row clearance. Over in the OCG, they aren't running Breaker. I've been asked about this. I'd probably say it's because Breaker uses up a normal summon, and they'd rather use the normal summon on Spellbook Magician or on Justice. Uh, but I still like Breaker, and I run it at 2s. I run 2 Justice of Prophecy. I don't run 3 because a third of the time we've got to draw High Priestess first turn anyway, and we've got no good way to use a third copy. So that's why I run 2, and also 2 is quite searchable, so I feel like it's a good number. I run a Stoic of Prophecy to search out the 2 Justices. I run Effect Veiler. It's really good. It works really well with Spellbook of Life as well, and to allow us to go into some synchros. And I prefer hand traps as opposed to normal traps in this deck, because normal traps will slow the deck down quite a bit. I run 3 Spellbook Magician. I've seen decks running just 1 or 2 Spellbook Magician. I think that's a mistake. I think Spellbook Magician definitely needs to be maxed out. Spellbook Magician is more or less a Spellbook of Secrets in monster form, so we can effectively add it to our Spellbook engine. So we are more or less actually running 3 extra spellbooks by running this card, whilst maintaining the number of monsters in our deck. So for example, I'm running 3 Spellbook Magician and I'm running 16 spellbooks. When you put that together, that's about 19 spellbooks which I'm running. That's about half the deck. So when I open first turn with 6 cards, I expect to see about 3 spellbooks, meaning that if I do draw a High Priestess first turn, I expect to be able to summon her, or at least to be able to summon her quite soon. I run 2 Tragodia. I've been going on about Trag being good in Prophecy for a long time now. It's good to see people started to run this. Trag is really good because Prophecy is very good at maintaining hand size with the Spellbook Tower and just the general 1-for-1 searches in the deck. And I mean, if you look at High Priestess's effect, it said you need to reveal 3 spellbooks in your hand anyway, meaning that you should be maintaining your hand size, and Trag will reward you for doing this. And also it adds a bit of defense to the deck. Also run 2 Maxi. It allows us to draw through our deck if our opponent still chooses to go off, and then we could draw through to Trags, we could draw through to Vaders to stop them, we could draw through to Spellbooks to summon High Priestess, or we could actually draw through to a High Priestess if we have Spellbooks. So 2 Maxi. Most of the time it will stop our opponents from going off, which is fine, because we don't run traps and we don't want our opponent to just go off in our face. For the spells, I run a Book of Moon. Book of Moon is here because it's really versatile. It's capable of stopping our opponent from going off, and also Spellbook Magician can turn a Book of Moon into any spellbook we want. I run a Dark Hole, or Heavy, or Reborn staples, a Magical Dimension. I've explained the math of the deck and why we should be able to summon High Priestess consistently, but there will be times where we can't summon her, and Magical Dimension helps out in those spots. I run a Spellbook of Eternity, just the one because it's kind of situational. I run a Spellbook of Fate. I did used to run this card before, but I run it now because of Spellbook of Sephir, which I'll get into later. I run 2 Spellbook of Life. Really, really good card. It works really well with Effect Vader to open up some doors into Synchros, and it works well with Justice and High Priestess. I like running 2, but I suppose you can run 1 if you really don't like running 2 of this. I run 2 Spellbook of Power. I run the 2 because I run Spellbook of Sephir, which can copy its effect if it's in the graveyard, and 3 Spellbook of Power can quite easily clutter. I run 3 Spellbook of Secrets, staple, 2 Spellbook of Sephir. This card works extremely well with Spellbook of Fate, because Spellbook of Sephir will basically put itself into the graveyard for free, because if you go Secrets, Magician, Sephir, search out Fate, you've basically put a Sephir in the graveyard for free, because you could have gone Secrets, Magician, Fate. So basically this is in the graveyard for free, and say you use Fate, and use, let's say, its second effect to banish Sephir and Secrets, then during your next turn you could quite easily get Eternity to the hand through a number of ways. You could use Eternity, you could get back Sephir, you could use Sephir to copy Eternity to get back Secrets. So you've undone the damage which Spellbook of Fate did, and you've used its effect. So I feel like Spellbook of Sephir is definitely a really key card for the deck, but it does require a face-up Spellcaster and a Spellbook in our hand, a normal Spellbook in our hand, a Spellbook in our hand, and it copies a normal Spellbook. So that actually allows us to cut down on Spellbook of Power, and the extra search allows us to cut down on Spellbook of Wisdom as well. and I run 2 of this because of these conditions, because I don't want to open up with too many Suffers and like a Spellbook of Wisdom, so I just run the 2. I run 2 Spellbook of Wisdom because I really don't like running 3 of this card because it clutters, and because of the extra search power, we don't need to run 3. I run 1 Spellbook Starhall. This is easily the best TTG exclusive. Starhall is actually a really good card. It boosts all of our spellcasters' attack, and it also acts as a searcher when it's destroyed. I run 2 Spellbook, the Grand Spellbook Tower, sorry. I know a lot of decks are running just 1. I think 1 is okay, because they're substituting it with Gauze, and the whole idea behind that is to run just 1 copy and to be careful about when you play it, so that you could drop a Gauze for defense if your opponent goes off, because the deck typically doesn't run any traps. Obviously, if you're putting in a Gauze as well, then take out Starhall. I run 1 MST, just basic back row removal. If you want to quickly get rid of back row or just chain and go +1 to if they use MST, then you chain your MST to destroy their back row or field spell. Speaking of field spells, if we've got Spellbook Tower on the field and our opponent activates something like Gates of the Dark World or Necro Valley and we chain MST, then it doesn't resolve properly, meaning that our tower stays on the field, which is really good. And it's also good just like to get rid of those random skill drains or random macros. And we want the 1 Treacherous Trap Hole. I did say that traps slow down the deck, but Treacherous Trap Hole is inherently a +1, so I feel like we could definitely run this. Onto the extra deck, we run a Formula Synchron. We can make this with Stoical Prophecy and Effect Veiler. We've got staples like Catasta, Librarian, Tempest Magician. We run Explosive Magician. You guys can take this out if you want. I run this because of Starhall and because I like the card. It's also just even if you treat it as a vanilla, it's still just a pretty decent 2500 beta for level 6 synchro. You can replace this with Digusto or Stardust if you really want. I run Arcanite, Staple, Black Rose, Staple, and Scrap Dragon. Staple. For Exceeds, I run Gachi Gachi, Staple, Shining Elf. I prefer this over Digusto because Shining Elf is a bit more control based, and also it's got a lot more support from the spellbooks. I run a Levia for the odd times that we can get back a Banished Justice. I run a Utopia, a Maestroke, and a Black Ship. And finally, we've got a Big Eye. We can make this pretty easily with Spellbook of Life, with Tragodia, and with High Priestess. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned how to play Prophecy a bit better now. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment in the comment section below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So cool, I'm Zero Option. Later.